For 300 years, Troy had chosen his victims by scent. Fear was always the sweetest, but the hooded Omega at the end of the line had no scent at all. Nothing. As if she didn't exist, as if she was a ghost among the living. The beast inside him stirred with interest, then hunger, then something else entirely, something he hadn't felt since before the curse. Recognition. When she lifted her head and their eyes met through the shadow of her hood, had he heard it? A whisper on the wind that shouldn't be possible. His true name, the one buried for centuries, the name no one alive should know, the one that could either save him or destroy him completely. And she was smiling. Chapter 1. The Hooded Offering. The wind cut through the valley like a blade, carrying the scent of snow and something darker underneath. Decay, old magic, and the metallic tang of power too vast to contain. Kari adjusted the heavy hood that concealed her face, as keeping her breathing steady as the 12 other tributes around her fell apart. "They say he eats them alive," a girl beside her whimpered, her wheat-colored hair whipping in the gale. "That he keeps their bones in his hall." "I heard he's more beast than alpha now," another whispered, "that the curse turned him into something that shouldn't exist." Kari said nothing. Let them believe their horror stories. The truth was so much worse. The tribute master, an elderly beta named Saul, stood on the raised platform, his ceremonial robes snapping in the wind. His voice carried across the frozen ground with practiced authority. "We gather under the old laws to offer tribute to the cursed Alpha of the Northern Reach. 13 souls, given freely by the 7 kingdoms, to appease the beast that answers to no crown. Given freely." Kari nearly laughed. There was nothing free about this. Every Omega here had been selected, purchased, or condemned. She'd been all 3. "Oh, form the line," Saul commanded. "Hoods down. He chooses by sight." Around her, trembling hands reached up to lower hoods and veils. Faces emerged, some beautiful, some plain, all terrified. The kingdoms sent their best and their worst to the tribute ground, beautiful Omegas to entice, defective ones to discard. Kari kept her hood up. "You there?" Saul's voice cracked like a whip. "Lower your hood." "No." The word hung in the frozen air. Several tributes gasped. No one refused the tribute master. Saul's face purpled. "You dare!" The temperature plummeted. Every torch on the platform guttered simultaneously, flames bending horizontal as if bowing. The tributes' terror spiked, their distress sense flooding the air. Vanilla and honey turned acrid with fear. But Kari smelled nothing. She never had. "He's here!" someone sobbed. The Alpha emerged from the tree line like winter-given form. He was massive, easily 7 feet tall, with shoulders that could break a man in half. His hair fell to his shoulders in dark waves, and his eyes were the pale gold of a predator, reflecting the torchlight with an inhuman gleam. He wore no crown, no formal robes, just dark leather and fur, and an expression of such absolute cold authority that several tributes dropped to their knees instinctively. Troy. The name rose in Kari's mind unbidden, as it had every night for 3 months. Not the name the kingdoms used, and not the Cursed One, or the Feral Alpha, or the Beast of the North. Troy Pearson, his true name, the one buried under centuries of fear and blood. He walked the line slowly, pale eyes assessing each tribute with the clinical detachment of a man selecting livestock. Some he paused before, most he dismissed with barely a glance. When an Omega at the end of the line tried to present her neck in submission, he didn't even slow his stride. Then he reached Kari. His steps stopped. How those predator eyes locked onto the shadow where her face should be. "Lower your hood," he said. His voice was deep, rough from disuse, and carried a command that made every other Omega on the platform whimper. Kari felt nothing. No pull, no compulsion. The Alpha command that should have forced her compliance slid off her like water off stone. "No," she said again. The gathered witnesses went silent. In 7 years of tributes, no Omega had ever refused him twice. Troy moved closer. and close enough that she could feel the unnatural cold radiating from his body. Close enough to see the strange patterns moving beneath his skin, dark marks that writhed like living shadows, the physical manifestation of his curse. "You don't smell like an Omega," he said quietly, dangerously. "You don't smell like anything." "I know." "Null," someone behind them whispered in horror. The word spread through the crowd like poison. "She's a null." Troy's expression didn't change, but something flickered in those gold eyes. Surprise, maybe? Or interest? Why would they send a null? He studied her. Predatory focus absolute. "You're useless as tribute. No bond, no scent, no submission." His head tilted. "Unless you're here for another reason." Carrie's heart hammered against her ribs. This was the moment. The reason she'd volunteered, traded her freedom, risked everything. She leaned forward, close enough that only he could hear. Eden whispered the name that had been carved into her dreams by magic she didn't understand. "Troy Pearson." He went absolutely still, the kind of stillness that preceded violence. The dark marks on his skin stopped moving. Even his breathing halted. Then his hand shot out, fingers closing around her throat, not squeezing, but holding her in place with undeniable strength. His eyes had gone pure gold, no white remaining. "Where?" he growled, and there was something terrible in his voice, something that made the other tributes flee the platform in terror. "Did you learn that name?" Kari held his gaze through the shadow of her hood, refusing to flinch even as his fingers tightened marginally. "From your mother," she whispered, "before your father killed her." The gold in his eyes exploded outward. The curse marks on his skin erupted across his arms, spreading like wildfire. Around them, the snow began to fall upward. "Impossible!" But his voice shook. "She died 300 years ago." "She left something behind." Kari reached slowly into her cloak, pulling out a small leather journal. "She left me." He stared at the journal, at the symbol burned into its cover, a three-pointed knot he clearly recognized. His hand released her throat, trembling slightly as he took the book. "Who are you?" The question was barely a whisper. Kari finally reached up and lowered her hood. The effect was immediate. Troy staggered back a step, at the journal falling from his hands. Around them, the few witnesses who'd remained let out audible gasps of horror. Because Kari's face was destroyed, scars crisscrossed her cheeks in deliberate patterns, burn marks wrapped around her jaw, and her left eye was clouded with milk-white blindness. But that wasn't why Troy was staring. "You're not real," he said hoarsely. "You can't be real." Kari smiled with her ruined mouth. "I'm very real, Troy. And I'm here to break your curse." She tilted her head. "Or finish what the Seven Kings started. We'll see which comes first." His eyes tracked every scar, every burn mark, reading them like text. "Those marks, they're not random." "No." She touched her ravaged cheek. "They're bindings. 53 of them to be exact. One for each name I was never supposed to speak." Her smile sharpened. "Including yours." For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he bent, retrieved the journal, and straightened to his full height. "Come with me," he commanded, not asking, ordering. "No." His eyebrows rose. "You refuse me again?" "I'll come," Kari corrected. "But not because you commanded it, because I choose to." She stepped closer, close enough to feel that unnatural cold again. "That's the difference between me and every other Omega. Your alpha authority means nothing to me, which means I'm the only one who can get close enough to save you. Or kill me," he said flatly. Or that." Something that might have been respect flickered across his face. "What do you want in return?" "My sister." The words came out harder than she intended. "You're holding 6 tributes prisoner in your dungeon. One of them is named Michelle. I want her freed." Troy's expression went carefully blank. What do you know about the six? More than you think. Carrie held his gaze. Do we have a deal or not? He studied her for a long moment, those gold eyes seeing far too much, and then he reached out and picked up her discarded hood, settling it back over her ruined face with surprising gentleness. You'll need this, he said quietly. The full moon is in 3 days. When I transform, even you won't be safe. I know. You know nothing. He turned toward the forest. But you will. As Kari followed the cursed Alpha into the darkness, Saul's voice called after them, shaking with fear. The tribute is accepted. May the old laws hold. Behind them, the remaining witnesses scattered like frightened birds. No one noticed the figure watching from the trees, a man with silver at his temples and a crown hidden beneath his cloak, his expression calculating as he watched the null Omega disappear with the beast. Phase 2. He murmured to himself. The final daughter has been delivered. Then he too vanished into the shadows. Chapter 2. The Null's Bargain. The fortress was carved into the mountain itself, black stone that seemed to swallow light rather than reflect it. Kari followed Troy through corridors lit by torches that burned with blue flame, their footsteps echoing in the oppressive silence. He hadn't spoken since leaving the tribute ground, hadn't looked back to see if she followed. The journal remained clutched in his hand, knuckles white around the worn leather. They passed through a great hall where the bones of some massive creature hung from the ceiling, ribs the size of tree trunks, a skull with 3 eye sockets. Carrie didn't ask what it had been. Some questions were better left unspoken. Finally, Troy stopped before a heavy door bound in iron. He pressed his palm against it, and Carrie heard something click, multiple locks disengaging simultaneously. Inside, he said. Still not looking at her. The room beyond was surprisingly warm, and a fire roared in a hearth large enough to stand in, and furs covered every surface, the chairs, the floor, even parts of the walls. It should have felt cozy. Instead, it felt like a cage made comfortable. Troy moved to a table, set down the journal with careful reverence, then finally turned to face her. Take off the hood. No. His jaw tightened. I need to see the marks properly, the bindings. Then ask instead of commanding. For a moment, she thought he might argue. Then something shifted in his expression, surprise again, as if he kept forgetting what she was. Will you show me the bindings? Carrie lowered her hood. In the firelight, the scars were even more grotesque. They formed patterns across her skin, deliberate and ritualistic. Burn marks circled her throat like a collar. 3 deep gouges ran from her temple to her jaw. Troy approached slowly, his movements careful as if she were a wild animal that might bolt. He stopped a foot away, those gold eyes tracking every mark with intense focus. May I? His hand lifted, hovering near her face. Yes. His fingers touched her cheek, tracing the pattern of the largest scar. His skin was cold, unnaturally so, like touching ice. But Kari didn't flinch. Binding magic, he murmured. Old magic. Each scar holds a piece of your power locked away. His finger followed the line to her jaw. This one seals speech. This one... He touched her throat. Seals breath when you try to use your gift. His hand dropped. Who did this to you? My father. Why? Because I'm a name weaver. Kari met his eyes. And name weavers are supposed to be extinct. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Frost began forming on the windows. Name weaver, Troy repeated slowly. Not just a name speaker. You don't just know true names. You can change them. I could, before he bound me. Carrie touched the scars on her cheek. 53 bindings. 1 for each name I spoke before he realized what I was. Each time I use my power now, one of these activates. The pain is... She stopped, breathed. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I know your true name. All 3 of them. Troy went utterly still. 3. Troy Pearson, the man you were born as, feral king, the beast the curse created. Carrie's voice dropped. And the third name, the one even you don't remember. At the name that holds the key to breaking your curse. If you know all 3 names, you could destroy me. His voice was flat, emotionless. Why haven't you? Because I need you alive. Kari moved to the window, looking out at the snow-covered mountains. My sister Michelle is one of the 6 tributes you're keeping prisoner. The 6 keys, they call them. Daughters of the 7 kings who cursed you. Behind her, she heard Troy's sharp intake of breath. You're the 7th daughter, he said. Yes. The final key needed to complete the curse. He crossed to her, grabbed her shoulder, and spun her around. Your father didn't send you here to break my curse. He sent you here to finish it, to lock me in this form forever. I know. Kari held his furious gaze. That's why I need your help. If we don't break the curse before the convergence moon in 30 days, the binding becomes permanent. You'll be the feral king forever. And my 6 sisters, including Michelle, will be consumed by the curse to fuel it. Her voice cracked. I won't let that happen. Troy released her, running a hand through his dark hair. The curse marks on his arms writhed faster, agitated. You're asking me to trust you, a daughter of my enemies, someone who could end me with a single word. I'm asking you to make a deal. Carrie straightened. I help you break the curse. You free my sisters. We both get what we want. And if you're lying? If this is just another trap? Then I lose Michelle forever, and I won't do that. Raw emotion bled into her voice. She's 15, Troy. 15 years old, and she's been in your dungeon for 6 months. Whatever you think of me, whatever you think of the 7 kings, she's innocent. Troy stared at her for a long moment. Then he moved to a cabinet, pulled out a crystal decanter filled with amber liquid, and poured 2 glasses. He held one out to her. Drink. Carrie took it, sniffed. What is it? Truth serum. He raised his own glass. Old magic, bound to blood. If we both drink, we can't lie to each other for the next hour. You want trust? Let's start there. It was a test, and a risk. If she drank this, she couldn't hide anything, but neither could he. Kari raised her glass. To truth, then. They drank simultaneously. The liquid burned going down, tasting of copper and winter and something ancient. Kari felt it spread through her body like fire, settling into her bones. Ask me anything, Troy said, setting down his empty glass. Did you hurt my sisters? The 6 tributes. No. The answer came automatically, pulled by the serum's magic. I've kept them alive and safe, fed them, clothed them, given them books and comfort. But I can't release them. Their blood is bound to the curse. If they leave this fortress before the curse breaks, they die. Kari's relief was profound. My turn? Why did your mother leave you that journal? The question she'd been dreading. Kari felt the serum pull at her tongue, forcing truth. Because she's not dead. My mother, Sharon, she's the witch who cast your curse 300 years ago. And she's been imprisoned beneath the first king's castle ever since, kept alive by the same magic that's killing you. Troy's glass shattered in his hand. He didn't seem to notice the blood welling from his palm. Your mother is Sharon Byers. Yes, the witch who bound me. Oh, who took my humanity and turned me into this. He gestured at himself, at the curse marks spreading across his skin. Monster. She had no choice. Carrie stepped forward. The 7 kings threatened to slaughter entire villages if she didn't cast the curse. She did it to save thousands, and she's been trying to undo it ever since. She should have let them die. Troy's voice was venomous. Do you know what 300 years of this curse feels like? Do you know how many people I've killed on full moons? How many tributes died screaming because I couldn't control the beast inside me? 76, Carrie said quietly. I know the count. I've seen their names. And I'm sorry. But my mother has suffered too. 30 years in a cell, tortured for refusing to strengthen the curse, waiting for someone who could help her finish what she started. Troy turned away, his shoulders rigid. What does she want from me? Forgiveness. Carrie's voice shook. And help. The journal contains the reversal ritual, but it requires 3 things: your 3 names spoken by a name weaver, the blood of the 7 keys given freely, and... She stopped. And? The serum pulled the words from her throat. And your willing submission to someone you love. The curse was built on pride, on your refusal to bow. It can only be broken by choice. Troy laughed, but there was no humor in it. Love. Of course. The one thing I haven't felt in 3 centuries. He looked at her over his shoulder. What makes you think I'm even capable of it anymore? I don't know if you are. Kari met his eyes. But we have 30 days to find out. After that, it won't matter. We'll all be dead or worse. Silence stretched between them. The fire crackled. Outside, wind howled against the mountains. Finally, Troy spoke. I'll make you a deal. You stay here. Help me understand this reversal ritual. I'll let you see your sisters, speak with them, prepare them. He turned fully to face her. But there are conditions. Name them. First, you do not speak my feral name under any circumstances. That name has power over the beast. In the wrong moment, it could trigger a full transformation. Agreed. Second, during full moons, you stay locked in the reinforced chamber. I don't care if you're a null. When I'm feral, I'm not me, I will kill you. Kari nodded slowly. Agreed. Third, his gold eyes burned into hers. You teach me your gift. If you're a name weaver, you can manipulate names, change them. I want to learn how. I want to understand what makes you different. That's not how it works. Name weaving isn't learned. You're born with it. Then teach me to understand it. He stepped closer. Because if this fails, if the curse becomes permanent, I want to know if there's a way to end myself. A way to speak my own name and unmake what I've become. The raw pain in his voice made Kari's chest ache. I'll teach you what I can. Then we have a deal. Troy extended his bloodied hand. Kari took it. His cold fingers closed around hers, and she felt something pulse between them. Recognition, maybe, or the beginning of something more dangerous. The full moon is in 3 days, Troy said quietly, not releasing her hand. After that, we'll have 27 days to break this curse or die trying. Then we'd better get started. He finally let go, moving toward the door. I'll take you to your sisters. They'll want to see you. He paused at the threshold. Fair warning, they're not going to trust you. They think you're here to finish the curse, not break it. I know. Carrie pulled her hood back up, hiding her ruined face. But they're wrong, and I'll prove it. As she followed Troy deeper into the fortress, toward the dungeons where her sisters waited, Kari touched the journal hidden in her cloak. Inside were her mother's notes, the ritual instructions, and one final message written in Sharon's elegant hand. The curse will try to make you love him. Resist it. Love is the lock, not the key. Remember that, my daughter, or you'll doom you both. But as Kari descended into the darkness, she wondered if resistance was already too late. Chapter 3. The 6 Sisters. The dungeon wasn't what Kari expected. Instead of dank cells and rusted chains, Troy led her through a corridor lined with solid oak doors, each one carved with intricate patterns. Warm light glowed from beneath them, and she could hear voices, laughter even, echoing through the space. These are dungeons? She asked. They were, 300 years ago. Troy stopped before the first door. I converted them when I realized the tributes wouldn't die quickly. Oh, if they were going to be prisoners, they deserved better than cages. His hand rested on the wood. They have beds, books, space to move, meals 3 times a day, freedom to visit each other. But not freedom to leave. No. His voice hardened. The curse binds them to this fortress. Step beyond the wards and their hearts stop. I've tried everything, breaking the bindings, weakening the wards. Nothing works. He looked at her. They're alive because of me. But they're also trapped because of me. I don't know which makes me more of a monster. Before Kari could respond, the door flew open. A young woman stood in the threshold, perhaps 20, with auburn hair pulled into a messy braid and green eyes sharp with intelligence. She wore simple wool clothing, comfortable but worn, and her expression shifted from hope to shock as she took in Kari's hooded figure. Another tribute? The woman's voice was cautious. Troy. Yeah, you didn't mention— Molly, Troy interrupted. This is Kari, the 7th daughter. The color drained from Molly's face. The final key. Yes, but not what you think. He gestured for Carrie to enter. Call the others. They need to hear this. The room beyond was surprisingly spacious. Bookshelves lined one wall, a fireplace crackled cheerfully, and comfortable chairs were scattered throughout. It felt more like a common room than a prison. Molly disappeared through a connecting door, and moments later, 5 more women emerged. Kari's eyes immediately found Michelle. Her sister had grown. 6 months ago, she'd been a girl. Now, at 15, she was beginning to look like a woman. Taller, her features sharpening into the beauty that ran in their bloodline. But her eyes were haunted, shadows beneath them that spoke of sleepless nights and too much fear. Kari? Michelle's voice broke. Oh gods, Carrie, is that really you? Carrie lowered her hood. The room erupted. Michelle screamed and tried to run forward, but one of the other women caught her. The others recoiled, horror and recognition warring on their faces. What did they do to you? Michelle sobbed, struggling against the arms holding her. Your face! It's all right. Kari kept her voice steady. These scars are old. I'm fine. You're not fine! Michelle wrenched free and crossed the room, her hands hovering over Carrie's ruined cheek without touching. Father did this, didn't he? When you manifested? Yes. I'll kill him. The words were flat, emotionless. I swear on the old gods I'll kill him. Get in line, muttered one of the other women, a tall, dark-haired figure with a jagged scar running down her neck. She studied Kari with calculating eyes. So you're the famous 7th daughter, the one who's supposed to seal our fate. Patricia, Troy warned. What? It's true. Patricia crossed her arms. We've been waiting 6 months, wondering when the final key would arrive. And here she is, scars and all, ready to finish what the 7 kings started. I'm not here to finish the curse. Carrie met Patricia's hostile gaze. I'm here to break it. Laughter erupted from another woman, younger than Patricia, with blonde hair and a cruel smile. Break it? You? A null omega with a ruined face? She looked Kari up and down. What makes you special? Robbie, enough, Molly snapped. No, let her answer. Robbie moved closer, and her scent spiking with aggression, roses gone thorny. What are you really, sister? Because something tells me you're not just another king's daughter. Kari glanced at Troy. He nodded slightly. I'm a name weaver, Carrie said, and I know how to break the curse. The room went silent. Impossible, whispered a petite woman with copper-colored hair. Janice, if Kari remembered the names correctly. Name weavers are extinct. They were hunted down centuries ago. Almost extinct, Carrie corrected. My mother was one. She taught me what she could before— She stopped, breathed. Before our father found out and had her imprisoned. Sharon Byers. This came from the 6th woman, who'd been silent until now. She was older than the others, perhaps 30, with gray streaking her black hair and eyes that held too much knowledge. Your mother is Sharon Byers, the witch who cast this curse. Constance is our scholar, Troy said quietly. She's studied every text in my library about the curse. She knows more about it than anyone except perhaps me. Constance approached Kari slowly, studying her with intense focus. Show me your hands. Carrie extended them. Constance took them, turning them over to examine her palms. Her fingers traced the lines there, Not normal palm lines, but intricate patterns that glowed faintly in the firelight. Name marks, Constance breathed. I've only seen these in ancient texts. They form when a name weaver speaks their first true name. She looked up. How many names have you spoken? 53 before my father bound me. 1 since. His? Constance glanced at Troy. Yes. And the bindings activated? Kari touched the scars on her face. Every time I use my power, one of these burns. The pain is significant. You're willing to endure that to break the curse? Patricia's hostility had shifted to grudging respect. Why? What's in it for you? My sister. Kari looked at Michelle, who was still crying silently. And freedom. What for all of us? She turned to address all 6 women. The curse binds you here, binds him to become the feral king, but it doesn't have to. My mother left instructions for a reversal ritual. It requires 3 things: the 3 names spoken by a name weaver, the blood of the 7 keys given freely. Our blood, Molly interrupted. That's why we're the keys. Our fathers used our blood to cast the curse. We're bound to it. Yes, but if you give it freely instead of by force, the magic inverts. Yet it becomes fuel for the reversal instead of the binding. What's the 3rd requirement? Constance asked. Kari hesitated. This was the part she'd been dreading. The cursed one must willingly submit to someone he loves. The curse was built on pride, on his refusal to bow to any king. It can only be broken by choice. The silence was deafening. Then Robbie laughed, sharp, bitter. Love? You expect him to fall in love in 30 days? She pointed at Troy. Oh, he's been a monster for 300 years. He doesn't even remember what love feels like. I remember, Troy said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. I remember what it felt like before the curse. To care about someone. To want them safe. His gold eyes found Kari's. I also remember what happened to everyone I loved. My mother, my sister, He stopped. The curse took them all. So forgive me if I'm not eager to repeat the experience. Then we're doomed. Patricia's voice was flat. Because if the great feral king won't risk his precious heart, we all die in 30 days. We're not doomed. Carrie's voice cut through the despair. We have time, we have knowledge, and we have each other. She looked at each woman in turn. I know you don't trust me. I know you think I'm here to betray you, but I'm asking you to give me a chance. Let me prove I'm on your side. How? Michelle asked, her voice small. Kari reached into her cloak and pulled out the journal. My mother's notes. Everything she learned about the curse, every weakness she found, every possible way to break it. It's all here. She held it out to Constance. I'm giving you this. Study it. Verify everything I've said. If you find anything that suggests I'm lying, if you think for a moment I'm working with our fathers. She met Troy's eyes. Then kill me. Troy's eyebrows rose. Bold offer. Necessary one. Carrie didn't break eye contact. Trust has to start somewhere. This is me starting. Constance took the journal reverently, already opening it to scan the pages. Her eyes widened as she read. This is God's. This is her original research. The binding formulas, the power structure. She looked up. This is real. This could actually work. If we can meet all 3 requirements, Molly said carefully, which brings us back to the love problem. One problem at a time. Troy moved toward the door. First, we establish trust. Carrie stays here with you tonight, and tomorrow she can begin working on understanding the ritual requirements. He paused at the threshold. The full moon is in 3 days. After that, we'll have a better sense of what we're dealing with. Wait, Michelle grabbed Kari's hand. You're leaving her here? With us? She offered herself as proof of good faith. I'm accepting. Troy's expression was unreadable. Besides, she's a null. She doesn't need my protection. His eyes found Carrie's one last time. "Does she?" "No," Carrie said softly. I don't." He left, the door closing softly behind him. For a long moment, the 6 women and Kari simply stared at each other. Then Patricia broke the silence. "All right, Name Weaver, you want our trust? Tell us everything. Start with why those scars form patterns. Then tell us exactly what you know about our father's conspiracy, and don't leave anything out." Her smile was sharp. "Because if you're lying, we'll know. As in, we've had 6 months to figure out creative ways to hurt someone in this fortress." Kari lowered herself into a chair, exhaustion finally catching up. "Then, get comfortable. This is going to take a while." As the 6 sisters settled around her, Michelle curled against her side like she used to when she was small. Kari began to speak. She told them about their mother, about the bindings, about the years spent silenced and scarred. She told them about the dreams that led her here, all about the name that haunted her sleep. And slowly, as the night deepened and the fire burned low, the sisters began to believe. All except Robbie, who watched from the shadows with calculating eyes and said nothing at all. Chapter 4. The Feral Name. 2 days passed in a blur of research and revelation. Constance had barely slept, poring over Sharon's journal with an intensity that bordered on obsession. The others took turns bringing her food, which she consumed without tasting, her attention never leaving the ancient pages. Carrie spent her time with Michelle, trying to rebuild the bond that 6 months and terrible scars had fractured. Her sister was different now, harder, more suspicious. How the dungeon had changed her. "I heard screams," Michelle said on the second night, sitting beside Kari on her bed. "During the full moons, they echoed through the walls." She pulled her knees to her chest. "He said we'd be safe down here, that the reinforced doors would hold, but we still heard them. The tributes he killed." "I'm sorry you had to hear that." "Are you?" Michelle's eyes were too sharp. "Or are you glad? Proof that he's a monster, and proof that breaking the curse is the right thing." "He is a monster," Kari said quietly, "and breaking the curse is the right thing, but that doesn't mean I'm glad people died." She touched Michelle's hand. "I'm not the enemy here." "Neither is he." Michelle pulled away. "That's what you don't understand. Troy didn't choose this. Our fathers did it to him, punished him for refusing to bow." Her voice dropped. "They're the monsters, Kari, not him." Before Kari could respond, as Constance burst through the door, Sharon's journal clutched to her chest. "I found something." Her voice shook with excitement and terror. "Something your mother hid in the margins. A warning." The other sisters gathered quickly. Even Robbie emerged from her corner, interest piqued. Constance opened the journal to a page near the end, where tiny script covered the margins in barely legible handwriting. She wrote this after the curse was cast, all after the 7 kings imprisoned her. She began reading aloud. "The curse has 3 anchors: pride, isolation, and hunger. The feral king cannot submit, cannot connect, cannot be satisfied. But there is a 4th anchor, one the kings do not know I added. A failsafe, in case the reversal is ever attempted by the wrong person." "What kind of failsafe?" Patricia asked. "If anyone speaks his feral name, the beast's true name, without pure intent, the transformation becomes permanent, and no reversal possible. The beast wins forever." Constance looked up, her face pale. "Do you understand? The feral name is a trap. One wrong word, one moment of doubt or fear or manipulation, and he's lost." Carrie's blood went cold. "I know his feral name." Every head turned toward her. "You know it?" Robbie's voice was sharp. "How?" "The same way I knew Troy Pearson. The names come to me. All 3 of them." Carrie stood, pacing. "But I haven't spoken it. Troy warned me not to, as he said it could trigger a full transformation." "It's worse than that." Constance pointed to another passage. "The feral name holds dominion over the beast. Spoken with pure intent by a name weaver, it can command the transformation, control it even, but spoken with impure intent, doubt, fear, anger, deception. It severs the last thread of humanity. The man dies, only the beast remains. Pure intent, Molly repeated slowly. How do you measure that? Magic knows, Janice said quietly. Oh, old magic especially. It reads the heart, not the words. She looked at Kari. If you speak his feral name, you have to mean it completely. No reservations, no hidden agendas. That's impossible, Robbie said flatly. She barely knows him. How can she have pure intent toward someone she met 3 days ago? She can't. Patricia's voice was grim. Which means the feral name is off limits. We break the curse using only his birth name and true name. The feral name stays buried. Agreed, Kari said immediately. The relief was profound. She'd felt the weight of that name since arriving, pressing against her thoughts like something alive and hungry. I won't speak it, not unless there's absolutely no other choice. A knock on the door interrupted them. Troy's voice came through the wood. The full moon rises in 4 hours. Kari, I need you. Carrie's stomach clenched. Oh, I thought I was supposed to stay locked down here during the transformation. You are. But first, you need to see something, understand what you're trying to save. A pause. And what you're trying to save me from. The sisters exchanged glances. Finally, Constance nodded. Go, but be careful. The curse is already pulling at him. I can feel it from here. Carrie found Troy in the Great Hall, standing before the massive fireplace. He'd changed into simpler clothes, a loose shirt and pants, both black. His feet were bare. The curse marks had spread since she'd last seen him, now covering his arms completely and creeping up his neck. You're early, she said quietly. The transformation starts hours before moonrise. His voice was rougher than usual, strained. The beast wakes slowly, tests the chains. He turned to face her, and Kari saw that his eyes had already begun to change, more gold than white now, pupils elongating into slits. Oh, what did you want to show me? Troy gestured to the walls. Carrie had noticed the scratches before, deep gouges in the stone that nothing natural could have made. Now she looked closer and saw they formed patterns, words almost. I carve them every full moon, Troy said, before I lose the ability to think. Reminders of who I am, who I was. He pointed to the freshest marks. But lately, they've been changing. The beast is getting stronger, taking over faster. Kari moved closer, reading the scratches. Troy, human, remember, over and over, hundreds of times. But the most recent ones were different. Hungry, kill, hunt. The curse is accelerating, she breathed. Yes. He pulled his shirt over his head, revealing his torso. The curse marks covered every inch of skin, writhing like living shadows beneath the surface. Constance thinks it's because you're here, the 7th key. The curse senses completion, and it's pulling harder. Then we need to move faster. Break it before I can't be saved. Yes. Troy's hand shot out, grabbing her wrist with bruising strength. His eyes were fully gold now, inhuman. But I need you to understand something. When the beast takes over, I'm not me. I don't recognize friends. I don't remember agreements. His grip tightened painfully. I will try to kill you. And the only thing that stopped me from killing the sisters is that they're behind reinforced doors with blood wards. What, you understand? I understand. Do you? He pulled her closer, so close she could see the pupils in those gold eyes flickering between human and something else. Because I can smell you, Kari. Even though you're a null, even though you shouldn't have a scent. I can smell something on you that makes the beast hungry. Carrie's heart hammered. What do you smell? Power. His voice dropped to a growl. Names, magic, everything the beast was created to hunt and destroy. His free hand came up, and fingers wrapping around her throat, not squeezing, but holding. Promise me you'll stay locked down during the full moon. Promise me you won't try to help, won't try to speak to me, won't try to use your gift. I promise. Say it again. Make it a vow. I vow I'll stay locked in the reinforced chamber during the full moon. I won't approach you, won't speak to you, won't use my gift. The words felt heavy, binding. Old magic recognized oaths. Troy's grip loosened. He stepped back, his breathing hard. Good, that's good. He pressed his hands to his face. You should go, now, while I can still let you. Kari didn't move. Troy, when this is over, when the transformation is done, will you remember this conversation? Parts of it. The beast's memories bleed through sometimes. His hands dropped. Why? Because I want you to know something. She reached up, touching his cheek where the curse marks writhed. You're not just a monster, not just the beast. You're also the man who converted dungeons into comfortable rooms, who kept my sisters safe when you could have killed them. Who's fighting every day to hold on to your humanity, even when it would be easier to let go? His eyes closed. You see what you want to see. I see the truth. That's what name weavers do. She let her hand drop. And the truth is that you're worth saving. When he opened his eyes, they were fully beast, gold with no white remaining, pupils vertical slits. And get to the reinforced chamber, now! Carrie ran. She made it to the dungeons as the sun touched the horizon. The sisters were waiting, the door to the reinforced chamber already open. It was smaller than the others, with walls twice as thick and a door bound in silver and iron. Inside, Constance urged. Quickly! Kari stepped through. Michelle tried to follow, but Molly caught her. You stay with us. The reinforced chamber is for her alone. But no arguments. Patricia's voice was firm. Oh, if something goes wrong, we can't risk losing both of you. The door swung shut with a heavy thud. Kari heard multiple locks engage, then silence. The chamber was bare except for a bed, a chamber pot, and a single candle. No windows, no decorations, just stone and darkness. Carrie sat on the bed and waited. An hour passed, then another. The candle burned lower. Then she heard it. A howl, distant, but growing closer. Not a wolf's howl. Something deeper, more terrible. The sound of hunger given voice. The howl was followed by crashing. Something massive hitting walls, tearing through corridors. More howls joined the first. Or no, it was the same howl, echoing through the fortress with impossible resonance. Kari pressed her hands over her ears, but it didn't help. The sound wasn't just external. It vibrated through the stone, through her bones, through her very soul. Then came the scratching. Something was at her door, not trying to break through, not yet, just testing. Claws dragged across the reinforced wood, slow and deliberate. Kari? Troy's voice. But wrong. Distorted, like two voices speaking in unison, one human, one beast. I can smell you. She stayed silent, remembering her vow. Power, names, magic. A heavy impact against the door. Mine. Another impact. The door shuddered but held. The beast wants you. Impact. Wants to tear you open. Impact. See what makes you different. Impact. What makes you smell like prey? Kari backed against the far wall, her heart racing. The vow kept her silent, but terror clawed at her throat. Then, impossibly, she heard his other voice, the human one, faint beneath the beast's growl. Run. If you can. Run far. I can't hold. The howl that followed shook the entire fortress. Something inside Kari snapped. The feral name rose in her throat unbidden, pulled by instinct and desperation. She could speak it, command the beast, make it stop. But Constance's warning echoed in her mind. Impure intent severs the last thread of humanity, and Kari's intent right now was pure fear. She bit down on her tongue until she tasted blood, forcing the name back down. The pain of restraint activated one of her binding scars, the one across her throat. It burned like fire, stealing her breath. Outside, the beast roared again, but it was moving away now, drawn by some other prey or distraction. The scratching stopped. Kari slid down the wall, is shaking, blood from her bitten tongue mixing with tears on her ruined face. She'd almost spoken it, almost destroyed him, and the night had only just begun. Subscribe if you believe someone who endures torture to protect the person they love deserves to have their story heard. Don't let Kari's pain be for nothing. Chapter 5. The King's Daughter. Dawn came with silence. Kari hadn't slept. She'd spent the night listening to the beast rage through the fortress, howling, crashing, destroying. Twice more it had returned to her door, testing the wards, growling her name in that terrible double voice. Each time, the feral name had risen in her throat like bile. Each time, she'd swallowed it back down, accepting the burning pain of her binding scars rather than risk destroying Troy completely. Or when the locks finally disengaged, Kari stumbled out to find the sisters waiting. They looked as exhausted as she felt. "Is he?" Kari started. "Alive," Molly said. "He's in his chambers, unconscious. The transformation always leaves him depleted." She hesitated. But this time was worse. He broke through 3 regular doors before the beast burned itself out. "If you'd been in one of our rooms." "I know." Kari's voice was hoarse. Michelle pushed past the others and wrapped her arms around Kari. I heard him at your door. I thought..." Her voice broke. "I thought he'd get through." The wards held. Kari held her sister close, drawing comfort from the contact. "We're safe." "For now," Patricia said grimly. "But Constance is right. The curse is accelerating. We have maybe 3 more full moons before he can't transform back at all. Then we have 3 moons to break it." Kari gently extracted herself from Michelle's embrace. "Where's Constance?" "Library." She's been cross-referencing your mother's notes with the historical texts." Janice gestured down the corridor. "She found something about your father." Kari's stomach dropped. "Which father? Mine or all 7? "Yours specifically. Come on." The library was vast. 3 stories of books and scrolls and ancient texts. Constance sat at a massive oak table, surrounded by open volumes and scattered papers. She looked up as they entered, her eyes bloodshot but bright with discovery. Your father's name is Douglas, correct?" Constance asked without preamble. "Douglas Haas, first king of Valdris. And he's the one who had your mother imprisoned?" "Yes. After she cast the curse, she tried to flee with me. He caught her. Kept her alive because..." Kari stopped. "I don't actually know why. I assumed it was to punish her." "Not punishment. Insurance." Constance pulled out a leather-bound ledger, its pages yellowed with age. "This is a treasury record from Valdris. And I found it in Troy's collection. He's been gathering evidence about the 7 kings for centuries, trying to understand the curse." She pointed to an entry dated 30 years ago. "Look at this." Kari leaned closer. The entry read, "Payment received from Consortium, 50,000 gold marks. Purpose, witch maintenance and curse continuation." "Consortium?" Kari's voice shook. "The 7 kings formed a secret alliance after the curse was cast. They meet once every decade to ensure the curse holds." Constance flipped through more pages, revealing similar entries spanning 30 years. "Your father has received over 2 million gold marks to keep Sharon alive and the curse intact." "But why?" Michelle demanded. "Why do they want Troy cursed?" "Control." This came from Robbie, who'd been silent until now. She moved to the window, looking out at the snow-covered mountains. Troy Pearson was the strongest alpha in the Northern Territories before the curse. Armies followed him. Lesser alphas submitted to him. He was building an empire. Her reflection smiled coldly in the glass. The 7 kings feared him, so they neutralized him, turned him into a monster that could never unite the territories again. And they've been profiting from it ever since, Patricia added. Think about it. Who controls the northern trade routes now? The 7 kingdoms, Molly said slowly, split equally between them. Routes that Troy controlled before the curse. Constance closed the ledger. He was the gatekeeper to the north, the only authority that mattered. With him gone, they carved up his territory and grew rich. Kari felt sick. My father. All our fathers. They've been bleeding the north dry while Troy suffered for 3 centuries. And using our blood to maintain the curse, Janice said quietly. We're not just keys, we're anchors. As long as we're alive and bound to the curse, it stays stable. Which means they'll never let us go. Michelle's voice was small. Even if we break the curse, they'll come for us. Try to recast it. Not if we have proof. Carrie straightened, a plan forming. Constance, can you make copies of these records? Detailed documentation of the payments, the conspiracy, everything? Yes, but why? Because once we break the curse, we're going to expose them. All 7 kings. Show the world what they've done. Kari's voice hardened. They destroyed Troy's life, imprisoned my mother, used us as sacrifices. They don't get to walk away from this. Revenge won't break the curse, Robbie pointed out. No, but justice might protect us afterward. Carrie turned to face them all. Well, we need more than just the reversal ritual. We need leverage, insurance, something that keeps the 7 kings from coming after us once Troy is free. She's right, Patricia said, but there's a problem. To expose them, we need to survive the next 27 days, and right now we're not even close to meeting the ritual requirements. We have the blood component, Molly counted on her fingers. All 6 of us are willing to give it freely, and we have Kari to speak the names. Get it, but the 3rd requirement? Love and submission, Janice finished. Troy has to willingly submit to someone he loves, and he's made it very clear he doesn't love anyone. He cared enough to convert the dungeons, Michelle argued, to keep us safe. Caring isn't love, Robbie said flatly. And even if he could love, why would he love Kari? She's been here 4 days. That's not enough time to build the kind of bond the ritual requires. Silence fell over the group. Then Constance spoke quietly. Unless it's not about building a bond, unless it's about revealing one that already exists. Everyone turned to stare at her. What do you mean? Carrie asked. The dreams you mentioned, the ones that led you here, where you heard Troy's name over and over. Constance pulled out Sharon's journal, flipping to a specific page. Your mother wrote about something called a soul mark. It's old magic, older than the curse. When a name weaver is born, they're marked for a specific purpose. At a specific person, their gifts are attuned to that person's true name from birth. You're saying Kari was marked for Troy? Patricia's skepticism was clear. That's impossible? Constance looked up. So is a curse that lasts 300 years. So is an Omega who smells like nothing. So is a name weaver who survived being bound 53 times. She turned to Kari. When did the dream start? 3 months ago, right after my 15th birthday. When you came of age. When your full power manifested. Constance pointed to a passage in the journal. Sharon wrote, My daughter will know him before she meets him. His name will call to her across distance and time. This is the soul mark's purpose, to bind the weaver to the one who needs her most. Kari's head spun. You're saying I was destined to save Troy? I'm saying you were marked for him. Whether that's destiny or just old magic, I don't know. But it explains why you knew his name. Or why you could speak it despite the bindings. Why the beast smells power on you. It's recognizing its own completion. This is insane, Robbie muttered. This is magic, Janice corrected gently. It's always insane. A knock on the library door interrupted them. A servant entered, bowing. Forgiveness, but the Alpha is awake. He's asking for Kari. Kari exchanged glances with the sisters. I'll go. Keep working on the documentation. And Constance, she gestured to the journal. Keep researching the soul mark. I need to understand what it means. Be careful, Michelle called after her. He's always unstable after transformations. Kari found Troy in his chambers, sitting by the window in a shaft of weak sunlight. He wore loose clothes, and the curse marks had receded slightly, now only covering his arms and creeping up his neck rather than consuming his entire torso. But his eyes were still wrong, still more gold than human. You survived, he said without turning. The wards held. Barely. He finally looked at her, and Carrie saw something raw in his expression, shame maybe, or fear. I remember fragments, being at your door, wanting. He stopped, jaw clenching. The beast wanted you, not to kill, something worse. What do you mean? It wanted to claim you, mark you, make you its mate. The words came out harsh. The curse twists everything. Even basic instincts become violent. If I'd gotten through that door, but you didn't. Carrie moved closer, and settling into the chair across from him. You held back. Some part of you fought the beast. Not enough. He turned back to the window. This is why the ritual won't work, Kari. Even if I could love someone, and I don't think I can anymore, the beast would destroy it, twist it into something monstrous. Constance found something in my mother's notes, something about soul marks. Troy's attention sharpened. Soul marks are myths. So were name weavers. Kari leaned forward. Oh, she thinks I was marked for you, that my gift was attuned to your name from birth. That's why I knew it, why I was drawn here. That's not love. That's magical obligation. Maybe. Or maybe it's the beginning of something that could become love, given time. She held his gaze. We have 27 days, Troy. That's not much, but it's what we have. So we can spend it arguing about whether this is possible, or we can spend it trying. He studied her for a long moment. You're asking me to open myself to hope, to risk caring about someone when the curse will use that against me. Yes. And if I fail? If the beast wins? Then we fail together. Kari reached across the space between them, offering her hand. But we don't fail without trying. Troy stared at her hand. His own lifted, hesitated, then finally closed around hers. His skin was cold as always, but beneath that cold, Kari felt something else. A flutter, a pulse, and the faintest warmth buried impossibly deep. 27 days, he said quietly. 27 days, she agreed. Neither of them noticed the figure watching from the shadows of the corridor. A servant with silver at his temples, who'd served the fortress for less than a week, who wore a hidden crown beneath his cloak. Douglas Haas smiled as he watched his daughter hold the cursed Alpha's hand. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. Phase 2 was complete. Soon, Phase 3 would begin. And then the 7th daughter would fulfill her true purpose, not breaking the curse, but making it eternal. Chapter 6. The Face Beneath. The next week passed in a strange rhythm. Mornings were spent in the library with Constance, studying the ritual requirements and documenting the Seven Kings conspiracy. Afternoons, Kari worked with Troy, trying to understand the curse's mechanics, while carefully building something that might become trust. Evenings, she spent with her sisters. Michelle had started sleeping in Kari's room, curled against her side like she used to when they were children. The nightmares came less frequently when they were together, but Kari's own dreams had changed. Now when she heard Troy's name, it came with images, fragments of memories that weren't hers. A woman with dark hair and kind eyes, a sister's laughter. A life before the curse, before the beast, before 300 years of isolation. His memories bleeding into her dreams through the soul mark. On the 8th day, Troy asked her to remove the hood. They were in his study, reviewing Constance's latest findings, when he set down the papers and looked at her directly. The hood, he said. Why do you still wear it? The scars. I've seen the scars. That first night. They don't bother me. He leaned back in his chair. So why hide your face from me now? Carrie's hand went to the hood instinctively. Habit, I suppose. I've worn it for 5 years. Since the bindings. People react badly when they see, I'm not people. Troy stood, moving around the desk to stand before her. And if we're supposed to build something that resembles love in 27 days, I should probably see the face of the woman I'm meant to love. Put like that, Kari couldn't argue. Slowly, she reached up and lowered the hood. Afternoon sunlight streamed through the study windows, illuminating every scar in brutal detail, the crisscrossing patterns on her cheeks, the burn marks circling her throat, the milky blindness in her left eye. While Troy was silent for a long moment, then he reached out, his cold fingers tracing the largest scar, the one that ran from her temple to her jaw. This one, he said quietly. This was the first name you spoke? Yes, a merchant who was beating his son in the market. I was 10. Didn't understand what I was yet. Kari's voice was steady. I spoke his name, and he collapsed. Heart stopped. My father realized what I was that day. Troy's finger moved to another scar. And this? A nobleman who was forcing himself on a servant girl. I was 12. This one? A woman drowning her newborn. 13. Troy's hand dropped. You spoke names to save people, to stop cruelty, and your father punished you for it. He called it murder, said I was killing people with my tongue. Carrie touched the scars herself. Maybe he was right. Maybe speaking someone's true name when they're doing evil does kill them, at their own truth destroying them. Your father is a coward and a liar. Troy's voice was hard. He punished you because you were powerful, because you could see through lies, expose corruption. You were dangerous to people like him. You sound like you know something about dangerous daughters. I had a sister once. Troy returned to his chair, but his eyes stayed on Kari's face. Cheryl. She had a gift too, could see the future in water reflections. My father feared it. I called her cursed. His jaw tightened. He was planning to have her killed. That's why I refused to submit to him. Why I told him I'd bow to no king, not even my own father. Kari's breath caught. That's what triggered the curse? Yes. My father went to the 7 kings, told them I was building an army to overthrow them all, convinced them I was a threat. They commissioned Sharon to curse me. His gold eyes met hers. And my father got what he wanted. Me neutralized. Cheryl dead. She drowned herself the day after my transformation. Couldn't bear to see what I'd become. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was 300 years ago. But his voice said otherwise. The point is, I understand what it's like to be punished for gifts you didn't ask for. To watch family fear you instead of love you. Carrie wanted to go to him, offer comfort, but something stopped her. A sound from the corridor. Footsteps too quiet, too deliberate. She rose, moving to the door. Pulled it open quickly. A servant stumbled backward, clearly caught eavesdropping. He was older, perhaps 50, with silver streaking his dark hair. His eyes widened with what looked like fear, but Kari sensed something else underneath. Recognition. Forgive me, my lady, the servant stammered, bowing low. I was just bringing fresh candles for the study. But his hands were empty. Troy appeared behind Kari. Luke, I don't recall requesting candles. My mistake, Alpha. I'll return to my duties. The servant, Luke, backed away, then turned and hurried down the corridor. Troy watched him go, frowning. That's odd. Luke's been reliable since he arrived last week, never forgetful. Last week? Carrie's instincts screamed warning. You hired a new servant a week ago, right after I arrived? He came with good references, worked for a merchant house in the south. Troy's frown deepened. You think he's a spy? I think we should find out who sent those references. They spent the next hour investigating. The merchant house Luke claimed to work for existed, but when Troy sent a message via his fastest courier, the response came back within hours. They'd never employed anyone named Luke. He lied. Troy's voice was dangerous. But why plant a spy now? The Seven Kings have had 300 years to send someone. Because I'm here, Kari said. The seventh key. Well, they want to know if we're actually trying to break the curse. Or they want to ensure we don't. Troy stood. I'm having him arrested. Questioned. Wait. Kari caught his arm. If we arrest him, whoever sent him will know we're suspicious. They'll just send someone else, someone we can't identify. An idea formed. What if we feed him false information instead? Troy's eyes gleamed. You want to use him? He's watching us, reporting back. Oh, so let's give him something to report. Carrie's mind raced. Tell him you're convinced the curse can't be broken, that you've given up. That way the Seven Kings will think they're safe. And while they're complacent, we work on the actual ritual. Troy nodded slowly. It could work, but we'd have to be convincing. Act as if we're defeated. Can you do that? I've been defeated for 300 years. It won't be hard to pretend. His expression darkened. The hard part will be pretending I don't care about you. Because if Luke reports that we're growing close, that love is developing, they'll act to stop it, Kari finished. So in public, we have to seem distant. Cold. How distant? Kari thought for a moment. You should send me away, not permanently, but make a show of it. Tell the sisters you're disappointed with the progress, that having me here is making the curse worse, and not better. They'll never believe it. They will if we give them a reason. Kari's hand went to her face, tracing the scars. What if you see me in full daylight, really see me, and you realize— No. Troy's voice was sharp. I'm not pretending your face disgusts me. I won't do that to you. It's just acting. I said no. He moved closer, his cold hand cupping her scarred cheek. I've spent 300 years being a monster. I'm not going to act like one toward you. Find another way. The tenderness in his touch made Kari's chest ache. Then what? Troy was quiet for a moment. Then his eyes widened. The hood. What if I finally see beneath it, and it's not the scars that disturb me? It's something else. What else is there to see? Come here. Troy pulled her to the window, positioning her in direct sunlight. Then he studied her face with intense focus. His expression slowly changed, from curiosity to shock to something like horror. What? Kari asked. Oh, what is it? Your bone structure, the shape of your jaw, your cheekbones. His voice was strained. Without the scars, you'd look exactly like— He stepped back. Gods, you look like her. Like who? Sharon. Troy's hands trembled. Your mother, the witch who cursed me. He turned away, breathing hard. For 300 years, her face has haunted my nightmares. Every time I transform, I see her, casting the spell, binding me, turning me into this. He looked back at Kari, and genuine pain filled his gold eyes. And you're her mirror image. Kari touched her face, understanding dawning. That's why the Seven Kings chose me. Not just because I'm the seventh daughter, because I look like her. Psychological warfare. Troy's voice was bitter. Force me to care about someone who wears the face of my tormentor. Make me question my own feelings. Wonder if I'm falling for you or just being manipulated by resemblance. Are you? Kari asked quietly. Being manipulated? Troy met her eyes. I don't know, and that's what makes it perfect. He moved to the door, opening it. Luke, I know you're listening. Come here. Footsteps approached. Luke appeared, his expression carefully neutral. Tell your masters, Troy said coldly, that the experiment failed. The seventh daughter wears her mother's face, and I won't. His voice broke convincingly. Get her out of my sight. Send her back to the dungeons with her sisters. I don't want to see her again. Luke bowed. As you wish, Alpha. After he left, Carrie stared at Troy. That was convincing? Troy's smile was bitter. I meant some of it. You do look like her, Kari, and it does disturb me, but not for the reasons I said. He touched her face again, his cold fingers gentle on her scars. I'm disturbed because even knowing you share her face, He stopped. I still want you near me. Carrie's breath caught. Oh, but Luke doesn't need to know that. Troy stepped back, his expression hardening into the cold mask he wore in public. For the next few weeks, in public, I'll treat you like the others. Distant, professional, a key to be used, nothing more. And in private? In private, we continue the work. Build what we're building. Hope it's enough. His eyes held hers. 20 days left, Kari. We're running out of time. That night, when Carrie returned to the sisters, Robbie was waiting. Hey, we heard what happened, she said. Troy seeing your face, rejecting you. It's an act, Carrie explained. There's a spy. Is it? Robbie's voice was sharp. Or is he using the spy as an excuse to push you away, to avoid the intimacy the ritual requires? You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Robbie moved closer, her eyes cold. You're falling for him, and he's using your mother's face as a shield. Because it's easier to keep you at arm's length than to risk actually feeling something. That's not true, isn't it? Robbie smiled without humor. 20 days, Carrie, and he's already building walls. How long before those walls become permanent? After Robbie left, Michelle curled beside Carrie. She's wrong, you know. I've seen the way Troy looks at you, like he's drowning in your air. Maybe. Carrie stared at the ceiling. Or maybe Robbie's right. Or maybe my mother's face will always be between us. Neither of them slept well that night, and neither noticed the figure outside their window, Luke, watching with calculating eyes, composing his report to the 7 kings. Phase 3 successful. The 7th daughter and the cursed Alpha are fracturing. The curse will hold. Chapter 7. The Blood Moon Bond. The second full moon arrived with a heat Carrie didn't expect. She woke that morning burning from the inside, her skin hypersensitive, her thoughts scattered. Michelle took one look at her and called for Constance. Heat, Constance said, pressing a hand to Kari's forehead. But that's impossible. Nulls don't have heats. I'm not... Carrie gasped as another wave of fire rolled through her. Not a full null. Not with him. The sisters exchanged alarmed glances. The soul mark, Janice said quietly. It's binding her to him, making her compatible. This is bad timing, Patricia paced. The full moon is tonight. Troy will transform, and if she's in heat, the beast will sense it. Molly's face paled. Heat pheromones are designed to attract alphas, even through wards, even through reinforced doors. He'll come for her, Robbie finished. And this time, he won't stop at scratching. Carrie tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't support her. Yet the heat was intensifying, pulling at something deep in her core. Get Troy. Tell him to lock me somewhere else, somewhere farther from where he transforms. There is nowhere farther, Constance said grimly. The fortress isn't that large, and heat pheromones travel through stone, through air, through magic itself. Then we give her suppressants, Michelle suggested desperately. We don't have any. Patricia's voice was flat. Troy doesn't keep them. Why would he? Well, he never intended to take a mate. The door burst open. Troy stood in the threshold, already partially transformed. His eyes were more gold than human, curse marks spreading rapidly across his skin. But he was still coherent, still himself, for now. I can smell it, he said hoarsely. The heat, it's everywhere. His hands clenched. I need to lock myself down early, before the beast takes full control. Will that be enough? Molly asked. No. Troy's voice was ragged. The beast is already clawing at my mind. It knows there's a compatible omega in heat. It will do anything, break through anything, to reach her. Then what do we do? Michelle's voice shook. Troy's gold eyes found Kari. There's one option. Bond with me, now, before the transformation completes. The room erupted in protests, but Troy held up a hand. If we bond now while I'm still mostly human, the beast will recognize her as mate. It won't try to hurt her, as it will protect her instead. He moved closer to Kari, his movements careful despite the tremors running through him. But I need your consent. True consent. Not heat-induced, not coerced. Do you understand what I'm asking? Kari's mind struggled through the fog of heat. If we bond, the ritual, the requirement, you have to love me. I know. Do you? She grabbed his hand, her skin burning against his ice-cold touch. Because bonding is permanent. If you bond with me and don't actually love me, I will be tied together forever, with a one-sided connection. That's torture for both of us. I'm aware. Troy's thumb stroked across her knuckles. But if I don't bond with you, the beast will kill you tonight. I'll kill you, and I can't— His voice broke. I can't lose you, even if it means cursing us both to a half-bond. Another wave of heat crashed through Kari. She cried out, and Troy's control visibly cracked. Yet his eyes went fully gold for a moment before he forced them back to partial human. We're out of time, he growled. Yes or no, Kari? I need an answer now. Kari looked at her sisters. Michelle was crying. Constance was calculating, already thinking through implications. Molly looked worried. Patricia looked resigned. Janice looked sad. Robbie looked victorious, as if she'd predicted this disaster all along. If I say yes, Kari said slowly, and we bond, but you don't love me, does that doom the ritual? I don't know, Troy admitted. Constance? The ritual requires willing submission to someone you love, Constance said quickly. Bonding doesn't automatically equal love, but— She pulled out Sharon's journal, flipping through pages with frantic speed. Your mother wrote something. Here. The soul mark will know. True bonds form when the mark recognizes completion. False bonds feel empty, hollow. If they bond and the mark sings, it means love is present or inevitable. How will we know if the mark sings? Kari asked. You'll feel it. Constance looked up. Both of you will. A warmth where there should be cold, a rightness where there was doubt. Troy's hand tightened on Kari's. And if we feel nothing, then we're bonded but not truly mated, and the ritual will fail. Silence. The heat pulsed through Kari again, worse this time. She felt her control slipping, instinct taking over. The need to submit, to present, to offer herself to the alpha standing before her. It was overwhelming. Kari. Troy's voice was gentle despite his transformation. I need your answer. Your real answer. Not heat talking. Kari closed her eyes, thought of the dreams that brought her here, the name that called to her across impossible distance, the way Troy looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching, like she was precious, breakable, worth protecting, the way she felt when he touched her. Not just the physical cold, but the warmth buried beneath it, the spark that refused to die despite 300 years of ice. Yes, she said. Bond with me. Troy pulled her to her feet. Everyone out. Now. But— Michelle started. Out. The command was alpha deep, impossible to resist. Even the sisters, who'd built up some immunity over months, found themselves backing toward the door. Only Constance hesitated. Troy, and if this goes wrong, then I'll kill the one person who's made me feel human in 3 centuries. His voice was ragged. I'm aware of the stakes. Now leave us. The door closed behind them. Troy pulled Kari to the bed, his movements controlled despite the beast raging beneath his skin. The curse marks were spreading faster now, covering his arms, his chest, creeping up his neck toward his face. I need you to listen, he said, his voice distorting. The bond requires a bite. Alpha bite during claiming. He was losing words, the beast taking over. If I bite wrong, if I go too deep, you could die. I trust you. Don't. His hands shook as they found the laces of her dress. Don't trust me. Not now. Not when I'm this close to losing control. But Kari caught his hands, stilling them. Troy Pearson, look at me. His gold eyes met hers. I trust you, she repeated. The man and the beast, both. And I trust you won't hurt me. Kari, do you love me? The question came out before she could stop it. Troy went still. I don't know. I don't remember what love feels like, but I know that when you're near, the cold retreats. I know that your voice calms the beast. I know that the thought of you dying makes me want to tear this fortress apart. His forehead pressed against hers. If that's love, then yes. If it's something else, I don't care. It's enough. The heat surged through Kari again, but this time something else came with it. A pull. A recognition. The soul mark blazing to life between them. Troy felt it too. His eyes widened. What? The mark, Kari breathed. It's singing. And it was. Kari could feel it, a warmth spreading from her chest outward, meeting Troy's answering warmth. Not the cold she expected. Not the ice that had defined him for centuries. Heat, real heat, coming from him. Your skin, she whispered. Troy, your skin is warming. He looked down at his hands, as the curse marks were still there, still spreading, but beneath them, color was returning, pink instead of pale gray, life instead of death. The bond is breaking the curse, he said in wonder. Not breaking. Changing. Kari touched his chest, feeling his heart beat strong and sure beneath her palm. Love is the key, Troy. Your mother was right. The transformation chose that moment to accelerate. Troy convulsed, his body fighting between human and beast. When he looked up again, his eyes were fully animal, his teeth sharpening into fangs. But he didn't attack. Instead, he pulled Kari closer, his movements still careful despite the beast's presence. Mate, he growled. Mine. Yours, Kari agreed. What happened next was primal and fierce and nothing like the gentle first time in the reference tale. This was heat meeting instinct, need meeting need. Troy's beast was present in every touch, every growl, every possessive grip. But so was the man. The way he checked her responses, the way he slowed when she gasped, the way he whispered her name, her real name, not just mate, against her skin. When he bit her, sinking fangs into the junction of her neck and shoulder, the pain was sharp and immediate, but it was followed by a rush of sensation so intense that Kari cried out. The bond snapped into place. Kari felt everything. Troy's fear that he'd hurt her, his wonder at her warmth, his desperate, aching need to protect, to cherish, and to keep her safe. And underneath all of it, buried but undeniable, love. Raw and new and terrifying, but love nonetheless. I feel you, she gasped. Troy, I feel everything. I know. His voice was still distorted, but clearer now. I feel you too. Your heat, your fear, your... He stopped. You love me. It wasn't a question. Yes, Kari admitted. I think I have since the first night, since you removed my bindings and told me I could speak freely. Troy's beast form shuddered. For a moment, she thought he'd transform fully, but instead the curse marks began to recede, slowly, fighting every inch, but retreating nonetheless. By the time the moon rose, Troy was still mostly human, still himself. The transformation didn't complete. They lay tangled together afterward, Troy's arms wrapped around Kari, her head on his chest. She could hear his heartbeat, strong, steady, warm. "The curse," she whispered. "It's weakening." "The bond." Troy's hand stroked through her hair. "Oh, it's doing what we hoped. Love is breaking the curse." He tilted her chin up to meet her eyes. "But we're not done yet. The full break requires the ritual, your mother's instructions." "I know." Carrie touched the fresh bond mark on her neck. It would scar, another mark to add to her collection. But this one she'd chosen. 20 days left. 20 days, he agreed. Outside their door, the sisters listened in stunned silence. "Did he transform?" Michelle whispered. "No," Constance said, a wonder in her voice. "The bond stopped it, pushed it back." "So it's working." Patricia's voice held cautious hope. "The love requirement, they've met it." "Not fully," Robbie's voice was cold. "He bonded with her, but bonding isn't the same as submission. He still hasn't bowed to her, and until he does—" "The curse holds," Janice finished quietly. Inside the room, neither Troy nor Kari heard this. They were too focused on each other, on the warmth building between them, and on the impossible hope that maybe, just maybe, they could break a 300-year-old curse with nothing but love and determination. They didn't see Luke in the shadows, his face pale with shock. He'd watched through a crack in the wall, seen the bond form, seen the curse weaken, and now he had to report what the Seven Kings feared most. The curse was failing. Phase 4 needed to begin immediately. She gave him everything, her body, her soul, her future. You can't even give her a like? Oh, come on, she's walking into hell next chapter. Be there for it. Chapter 8, The Name Weaver's Inheritance. The bond changed everything. Carrie woke the next morning to find Troy still beside her, unprecedented after a full moon. His skin was warm for the first time in centuries, color high in his cheeks. The curse marks had receded to just his forearms, faint shadows of what they'd been. "You're staring," he murmured without opening his eyes. "You're warm." "I know." He finally looked at her, and his eyes were gray-blue, human. "Oh, the bond is breaking the curse from the inside out. I can feel it." He touched his chest. "The cold that's been crushing my heart for 300 years. It's loosening." Kari traced the remaining curse marks on his arm. "But not gone." "No, not yet." Troy caught her hand, brought it to his lips. "We still need the full ritual. The 3 names spoken, the blood given freely, and your willing submission to me." Kari finished quietly. Troy's expression shuddered. "Yes." That." "You're afraid of it." "I'm terrified of it." He sat up, the furs falling away. "I spent 300 years refusing to bow. It became my identity, the cursed alpha who answers to no one." His jaw tightened. "Submission feels like death." "It's not submission to a king," Kari said gently. "It's submission to love, to vulnerability, letting someone see you completely and trusting they won't destroy you with that knowledge." "That's worse." Troy's voice was raw. "I know how to fight kings." "I don't know how to fight this." Before Kari could respond, pounding erupted on the door. "Troy!" Constance's voice, urgent. "We found something. You need to see this now." They dressed quickly and followed Constance to the library. All 6 sisters were there, gathered around the table where Sharon's journal lay open. But it wasn't the journal that held their attention. It was a letter, yellowed with age, that Constance had apparently found hidden in the journal's binding. I was examining the spine," Constance explained breathlessly, "looking for more hidden notes, and I found this." She held up the letter. "It's from your mother, Kari, written 30 years ago, the day before Douglas had her imprisoned." Kari took the letter with trembling hands. Sharon's elegant script covered the page. "My dearest daughter, if you're reading this, you've found Troy, you've spoken his name, and you've begun to understand what you are, not just a name weaver, all but a soul-marked weaver, born with a specific purpose, To break the curse, I was forced to cast. I could not tell you this in person. Douglas would have killed you if he knew, so I hid my knowledge, pretended you were merely a name speaker, and prayed you'd survive long enough to manifest your full power. The curse I cast has 3 layers. The 7 kings know of 2, the transformation and the isolation, but I added a 3rd layer, hidden from them, and a failsafe that would activate if the right person, you, ever attempted the reversal. This 3rd layer is why you must go to the first king's castle. Beneath it, in the black cells where Douglas has kept me prisoner, there is an object. A binding stone, carved with my blood and Troy's, created the night the curse was cast. This stone holds the original curse formula. Destroy it, and the curse weakens significantly. But more importantly, it holds something else. My power. The power Douglas stole from me when he imprisoned me. You need that power, Kari. Your bindings have crippled you. Each scar limits your gift. But if you can retrieve the stone, absorb the power stored within it, you'll be strong enough to break your bindings completely. Strong enough to speak all 3 of Troy's names without pain. Strong enough to complete the ritual. But be warned, Douglas will kill you if he discovers what you're attempting. He's been paid vast sums to keep the curse intact. He won't surrender his investment easily. I'm sorry, my daughter. Sorry I couldn't protect you. Sorry I left you alone. But I never doubted you'd find your way to this moment. You are stronger than he ever was. Prove it. With all my love, Sharon Kari's hands shook as she lowered the letter. She's alive. After 30 years, she's still alive. And she has power stored for you, Constance said. Power that could break your bindings completely. How far is the first king's castle? Troy asked. 5 days' ride south, Patricia answered, through 3 kingdoms, all of them controlled by the 7 kings. It's a trap, Robbie said flatly. Your father knows you'll come for your mother. He's probably been waiting for this. Probably, Carrie agreed. But I don't have a choice. Without that power, I can't speak the 3 names. The bindings will activate and the pain... She touched her scarred face. I might not survive it. Then we go together, Troy said immediately. No. Carrie turned to him. You can't leave the fortress. The wards are tied to your presence. If you leave, the sisters die, Molly finished quietly. The curse bindings fail without you nearby. Our hearts stop. Troy's expression was anguished. Then you can't go alone. She won't. Michelle stood. I'll go with her. I know the castle. I grew up there. I can get her in and out without being seen. Absolutely not, Carrie said. You're 15. And I've been trapped in this fortress for 6 months while you risked everything to save me. Michelle's voice was steady. Let me help, please. I'll go too, Patricia added. I've been studying the castle layout with Constance. Between Michelle's knowledge and my planning, we can get Kari to the black cells. This is insane, Troy growled. You're walking into enemy territory. We've been in enemy territory our whole lives, Robbie interrupted. Our fathers made us prisoners long before we came here. At least this time we're choosing to fight back. The conviction in her voice surprised Carrie. Robbie had been hostile since the beginning. Now she stood with the others, united. How long? Troy asked finally, defeat in his voice. 5 days there. 1 day to infiltrate the castle and retrieve the stone. 5 days back. Constance calculated quickly. 11 days total. You'll have 9 days left when they return. 9 days to perform the ritual, Troy said, assuming everything goes perfectly. It won't, Kari admitted, but we're out of options. She moved to him, taking his hands. Through the bond, she felt his fear, his desperate need to keep her safe. I'll come back. I promise. Don't make promises you can't keep. Then I'll make a vow. Carrie's voice strengthened. I vow on my mother's name, on the soul mark that binds us, that I will return to you. I will retrieve the power, and I will break this curse. She met his eyes. Do you believe me? Through the bond, Troy felt the absolute conviction in her words. Yes. Then trust me to do this. They spent the rest of the day preparing. Constance copied every relevant page from Sharon's journal. Molly gathered supplies. Janice prepared horses. Patricia drew maps, marking safe routes and places to avoid. Robbie, surprisingly, volunteered to stay behind with Troy. Someone needs to keep feeding false information to Luke, she explained. Let him think you're all still here. Buying time. That night, Carrie and Troy stood on the fortress walls, looking south toward the kingdoms that wanted them dead. I hate this, Troy said quietly. Every instinct I have is screaming to lock you in the fortress and never let you leave. That's the curse talking, the isolation aspect. Carrie leaned against him. You've been alone for 300 years. Of course you want to keep me close. It's not just the curse. His arm wrapped around her waist. It's the bond. It's knowing that if you die, I'll feel it. I'll feel you die, and I won't be there to stop it. You won't feel me die, Carrie said with more confidence than she felt. Because I'm not going to die. I'm going to get my mother's power, break these bindings, and come back to you. She turned in his arms. And then I'm going to speak your 3 names and free you from this curse forever. Troy's hand came up, cupping her scarred cheek. I never thought I'd be grateful to the 7 kings, but they sent you to me, the one person in all the realms who could see past the monster. You're not a monster. I am, but you make me want to be something better. He kissed her then, deep and desperate. Through the bond, Carrie felt everything. His love, his fear, his hope. When they broke apart, both were shaking. Come back to me, Troy whispered against her lips. Always, Carrie promised. The next morning, as dawn broke, Kari, Michelle, and Patricia rode south. Constance stood at the fortress gates, Sharon's journal pages tucked safely in Carrie's saddlebags. Molly and Janice waved from the walls. Troy stood alone, watching until they disappeared from sight. He didn't see Luke slip away from the fortress, a raven perched on his arm. Anna didn't see him tie a message to the bird's leg and send it south. The message was simple. She's coming. Phase 4 begins now. Far to the south, in a castle built on suffering, Douglas Haas received the message. He smiled, setting down his wine. Prepare the black cells, he told his guards. My daughter is coming home. In the deepest cell, where no light penetrated, Sharon Byers lifted her head. She'd felt it, the shift in the magical currents, the soul mark activating. Her daughter, finally coming. But she'd also felt something else, a trap closing, a plan within plans. Carrie, she whispered to the darkness. Be careful. Your father is more dangerous than you know. Above her, mechanisms were moving. The trap Douglas had spent 30 years building was almost complete. All he needed was for Kari to walk into it, and she was riding toward him as fast as her horse could carry her. Chapter 9. The Queen's Gambit. The journey south took 6 days, not 5. They'd been forced to detour around a kingdom checkpoint on the 3rd day, adding precious time. By the 6th evening, as they approached the first king's castle, Kari's anxiety had reached a fever pitch. Through the bond, she felt Troy's constant worry, his barely contained urge to come after her. She sent him what reassurance she could, but the distance made the connection weak, unreliable. There, Michelle pointed to the dark fortress rising against the twilight sky. Father's castle. I used to think it was beautiful. It's a prison, Patricia said grimly, built on suffering and lies. They'd left the horses in a village 3 miles back, approaching on foot as planned. Michelle led them through a servant's entrance she'd used as a child, a narrow passage that opened into the castle's lower levels. The black cells are beneath the dungeons, Michelle whispered as they descended worn stone steps. Father keeps his most valuable prisoners there. Mother should be in cell 7. The passage opened into a corridor lit by guttering torches. Empty. Too empty. This is wrong, Patricia said immediately. Where are the guards? A slow clap echoed through the passage. Douglas Haas stepped from the shadows, flanked by 6 armed men. His smile was cold, triumphant. "Welcome home, daughter." I've been expecting you." Carrie's hand went to the knife at her belt, but Douglas laughed. "Please, you're outnumbered and outmatched, but violence won't be necessary." He gestured to the guards. "I simply want to talk. Surely a daughter can grant her father that much." "You're not my father," Carrie said. "Fathers don't torture their children." "I disciplined you. There's a difference." Douglas moved closer, his eyes traveling over her scarred face. "Though I admit, I may have been overzealous. The bindings were perhaps too severe." His tone suggested mild regret, nothing more. "But necessary. You were dangerous." "I was 10 years old." "You were a name weaver. Age is irrelevant." Douglas held out his hand. "Now give me Sharon's journal pages. I know you brought them." "No." "Then your sister dies." Douglas snapped his fingers, and 2 guards grabbed Michelle, a knife appearing at her throat. "Your choice, the pages, or I open her veins right here." Through the bond, Kari felt Troy's rage, his desperate helplessness. She sent him a single thought: "Trust me." Then she pulled the journal pages from her bag and handed them over. Douglas flipped through them, his smile widening. "Excellent. Sharon's research, the reversal ritual, and..." His eyes gleamed as he read. "Information about the binding stone. How convenient." He looked up. "Did you really think I wouldn't know about your mother's letter? I've had 30 years to search every inch of that journal. I found the hidden message years ago." Carrie's blood ran cold. "Then why let me come?" "Because I needed you to believe you had a chance." Douglas tucked the pages inside his coat. "Needed you to bond with the beast, to start breaking the curse. Needed you to prove the reversal ritual actually works." His expression darkened. "And now that I know it does, I can ensure it never completes." "Why?" Patricia demanded. "You're receiving payments to maintain the curse. But is gold really worth this much suffering?" "It's not about gold." A new voice spoke from deeper in the corridor. A woman emerged, older, perhaps 60, wearing the robes of a high-ranking official. "It's about power." "Kathleen." Douglas nodded to her. "Right on time." Kathleen moved to stand beside Douglas, her eyes cold as she surveyed Carrie. "The 7 Kings discovered something 300 years ago. Troy Pearson wasn't just the strongest alpha in the North, and he was a unifier, born with the ability to bind other alphas to his will. If he'd been allowed to continue, he would have united every territory under one rule: his rule." "Unifiers are myths," Patricia said. "So were name weavers." Kathleen smiled thinly. "The 7 Kings pooled their resources to neutralize the threat. The curse was expensive, but worth it. It shattered the northern territories, allowing us to divide the power." She looked at Kari. "Oh, and we will not allow that power structure to change. Not for you, not for love, not for anything." "You're one of the 7 Kings," Carrie realized. "The 2nd king, Kathleen Warner of Theswick." She inclined her head mockingly. "Your father and I have been partners in this enterprise for 30 years, ensuring the curse holds, ensuring Troy never rises again." "What about the other 5 kings?" Michelle asked, voice shaking. "Do they know about this?" "They know what they need to know." Douglas waved dismissively. "Some have been more cooperative than others. But ultimately, they all benefit from Troy's imprisonment. They won't interfere." "Then why are we alive?" Carrie demanded. "If you want the curse to hold, kill us now. Without the 7th key, the ritual can't complete." "Because there's a better option." Douglas moved to a door at the corridor's end, unlocking it with a heavy key. "Oh, you wanted to see your mother. I'll grant that wish, but I think you'll find the reunion illuminating." The black cell beyond was larger than Kari expected, almost a room. A bed, a desk, even bookshelves lined with texts. And sitting at the desk, writing by candlelight, was Sharon Byers. She looked up as they entered, and Carrie's breath caught. Sharon was beautiful, Sharp features, dark hair barely touched with gray despite 30 years of imprisonment, and eyes the same unusual amber as Kari's one good eye. But it was her expression that shocked Carrie. Not relief at seeing her daughter, not joy. Calculation. Carrie. Sharon stood, her movements graceful despite decades of captivity. You're early. I expected you tomorrow. Early? Carrie's voice was faint. Douglas. Sharon turned to the first king. I asked you to delay her. Give me more time to prepare. She took the bait faster than anticipated. Douglas shrugged. But no matter. Everything is in place. Carrie's mind reeled. Mother, what's happening? Sharon moved closer, studying Carrie with clinical interest. Did you bond with Troy? Yes, but... Good. And the curse is weakening? Yes, but Mother... Excellent. Sharon turned to Douglas. The reversal is progressing as predicted. We can move to Phase 5. Phase 5. The words echoed in Kari's mind, cold and terrible. You're working with him, Carrie whispered. All this time, the letter, the journal, the binding stone, it was all a trap. Not a trap. Sharon's voice was patient, as if explaining something simple to a child. A plan, one I've been orchestrating for 30 years. But the curse, you were forced to cast it. I volunteered to cast it. Sharon's smile was sharp. Troy Pearson was dangerous, Carrie. A unifier with the power to reshape the entire realm under his rule. The 7 kings came to me, offered me wealth and security, and I accepted. Cast the curse willingly, gladly, even. Then why? Carrie couldn't finish. Couldn't reconcile this cold woman with the loving mother she'd imagined. Why teach you name-weaving? Why leave you the journal? Sharon moved to the desk, pulling out a leather-bound book. Because I needed you to do what I couldn't. Break the curse. You want the curse broken? Not broken. Transferred. Sharon opened the book, revealing pages of complex magical formulas. Troy's curse makes him powerful but unstable, unable to rule. But if that curse, that power, were transferred to someone else, someone with unifier blood but without the instability, she looked at Kari meaningfully. Someone like a soul-marked name weaver, bonded to the original unifier. Horror crashed over Carrie. You want to transfer Troy's curse to me? Not the curse, the power. Sharon's eyes gleamed. Troy is a unifier. You bonded with him, which means his gifts now flow through your blood. And you're a name weaver, which means you can reshape those gifts, control them, use them properly. She moved closer, touching Kari's scarred face almost tenderly. With Troy's unifier power and your name-weaving gift combined, you could unite the entire realm, bring order, end the endless territorial disputes. Under your control, Patricia said flatly. Under our guidance, Douglas corrected. Sharon and I have spent 3 decades planning this. Kari was always meant to be the vessel. At the bridge between name-weaving and unifier magic. And Troy? Carrie's voice broke. What happens to him? He dies, obviously. Sharon said it casually, like discussing the weather. The power transfer requires his complete surrender, mind, body, and soul. He must give up everything, his power, his life force, his very identity, and channel it all into you through the bond. Willing submission to someone he loves, Kari breathed. That's not about breaking the curse, and it's about killing him. It's about evolution. Sharon returned to her desk. Troy had his chance to unite the realm. He failed. Now it's your turn. She pulled out a vial filled with dark liquid. This is the catalyst. On the full moon, 8 days from now, you'll speak his 3 names, feed him this potion, and he'll willingly transfer everything to you. The bond will channel the power. He'll die. Or you'll become the most powerful being in the realm. And if I refuse? Then Michelle dies. Douglas nodded to the guards, who still held Carrie's sister. Then Patricia dies. Then your other 4 sisters die. Then we keep Troy cursed forever while you watch him suffer, knowing you could have ended it. His smile was cruel. Or you can accept your destiny, become what you were born to be, save your sisters and reshape the realm. Your choice. Kari looked at Michelle. She saw the terror in her sister's eyes, looked at Patricia, saw grim resignation, felt through the bond Troy's distant presence, unaware of the trap closing around them both. I need time, Carrie said finally. Time to think. You have 8 days, Sharon said. Use them wisely. She gestured to the guards. Take them to the upper cells, comfortable rooms. They're guests, not prisoners. As the guards led them away, Sharon called after Carrie. I'm proud of you, daughter. Well, you've done everything I hoped. Soon you'll understand why this is necessary, why some sacrifices must be made for the greater good. In the cell they were given, large and well-appointed but still locked, Michelle collapsed, sobbing. Patricia paced like a caged wolf. Kari stood at the window, one hand pressed to her chest where the bond hummed with Troy's distant warmth. She'd thought she was coming to save her mother, to gain power to break a curse. Instead, she'd walked into a trap 30 years in the making. A trap designed to murder the man she loved and turn her into a weapon. Through the bond, she felt Troy's sudden alarm. He'd sensed her distress. What's wrong? His thought came through faint but clear. Kari closed her eyes, tears streaming down her scarred cheeks. She wanted to tell him everything, warn him. But if Sharon discovered they could still communicate through the bond— Nothing, she sent back. Just tired. Miss you. A lie. At her first lie to him through the bond, she felt his suspicion, but the distance weakened their connection before he could press further. 8 days. 8 days to find a way out of this nightmare. 8 days to save Troy without becoming the monster her mother wanted her to be. 8 days to prove that love was stronger than a 30-year-old conspiracy. Or 8 days until she had to choose. Her sisters' lives or the man she loved. Either way, someone was going to die. Chapter 10. The 3 Names Spoken. For 3 days, Kari refused to see Sharon. She spent the time planning with Michelle and Patricia, searching for any possible escape. The cells were warded, the windows barred, guards rotated every 4 hours, never fewer than 3. And through the bond, Troy's anxiety grew stronger. He knew something was wrong. Kari could feel him trying to reach her, pushing against the distance between them. On the 4th day, Sharon came to their cell herself. You're running out of time, she said without preamble. 4 days until the full moon. 4 days to accept your destiny. I'll never help you kill Troy, Kari said flatly. Then your sisters die. Starting with Michelle. Sharon's expression didn't change. I don't make empty threats, Kari. I spent 30 years in this cell planning every detail. I won't let sentiment ruin it now. You're my mother. I'm a woman who made hard choices for the greater good. Sharon moved to the window. Do you know what the realm looks like now? 7 kingdoms in constant conflict, trade routes controlled by competing interests, small territories crushed between larger ones, thousands dying in territorial disputes every year. She turned back. Troy could have unified us, could have brought peace, but he refused to submit to any authority. His pride destroyed that chance. So you cursed him. I neutralized him, and now I'm offering you the chance to finish what he started. Unite the realm. End the conflicts. Save thousands of lives. Sharon's voice softened. I know you care for him, but one life against thousands? That's not a choice. That's mathematics. After she left, Patricia spoke quietly. She's not entirely wrong. The realm is fractured. People are suffering. So we murder Troy to fix it? Carrie's voice was sharp. No, but maybe— Patricia hesitated. Maybe there's a middle path. Use the ritual, break the curse, but instead of transferring the power, let it dissipate. So Troy survives. The unifier power dies with the curse. Would that work? Michelle asked. I don't know. Carrie pressed her hands to her temples. Constance would know, but she's back at the fortress with the journal. She stopped. The journal. Sharon has the pages we brought, but Constance kept the original, and there might be something in it, something Sharon doesn't want us to know. How does that help us? Patricia asked. We're locked in here. Carrie moved to the window, 4 stories up, barred and warded. But wards were made of magic, and magic responded to names. The wards, she said slowly. They're bound to something, someone. If I could speak the true name of whoever set them, your bindings will activate, Michelle said immediately. Kari, you've already triggered 3 scars speaking Troy's name and fighting off the beast. You can't— I can if I have to. Kari touched her scarred face. 53 bindings. I've used 3. That leaves 50 more. She met their eyes. Oh, enough to get us out of here. Or enough to kill you, Patricia said. Maybe, but I'm dead anyway if I do what Sharon wants. Carrie moved to the door. I need to see the ward marks, study them, figure out whose name is bound in the magic. It took 2 more days of careful observation. The guards changed shifts at dawn, noon, dusk, and midnight. During the shift changes, there was a brief moment, less than a minute, when Kari could see the ward marks glowing on the doorframe. She studied them obsessively, comparing the patterns to everything she'd learned from her mother's notes. And finally, on the morning of the 7th day, she understood. The wards were bound to Douglas. Of course they were. The first king's castle, his magic woven into every stone. To break them, she'd need to speak his true name. But Douglas's name was one of the 53 that had earned her a binding scar. Speaking it would trigger the punishment. As Carrie touched the scar that ran across her left cheek, the one that activated with Douglas's name, she'd earned it at age 12 when she'd spoken his name to reveal his embezzlement of crown funds. The pain had been so intense, she'd blacked out for 3 days. Are you sure about this? Michelle asked as they prepared. It was 2 hours before dawn, the quietest time. The guard rotation would happen soon. No, Carrie admitted. But I'm sure about what happens if we stay. Patricia had fashioned a makeshift rope from bed sheets. The plan was simple. Kari breaks the wards, they overpower the guards during the shift change, escape through the servants' passages, and run. Simple. Probably fatal, but the only chance they had. Through the bond, Troy was frantic. He'd felt her resolve solidify, felt her preparing for something dangerous. Kari, what are you planning? His thought came through clearer than before, as sharpened by desperation. Trust me, she sent back, and if this goes wrong, if I don't make it back, don't. His thought was fierce. Don't you dare say goodbye. I love you, she sent anyway. Remember that. Whatever happens, I love you. Carrie. She closed the bond before he could respond. Couldn't afford the distraction. At dawn, as the guard shift began to change, Kari pressed her hand to the ward marks and spoke. Douglas Haas. The true name, the one buried beneath titles and power. The name of a man who'd tortured his daughter, imprisoned his wife, and sold his soul for gold. The wards shattered, and the binding scar across Kari's cheek ignited. The pain was everything she remembered, and worse. Like acid eating through her face, burning down to the bone. She bit down on her tongue to keep from screaming, tasting blood, but the door was open. Patricia moved first, tackling the startled guard. Michelle grabbed his sword. Kari stumbled after them, vision graying at the edges. And they made it to the servants' passages, down 3 flights of stairs, past the kitchens where early morning staff were starting fires. Then Carrie collapsed. Leave me, she gasped. Get to Troy. Warn him. Absolutely not, Michelle said fiercely. She and Patricia each took one of Carrie's arms, hauling her forward. They'd made it to the outer courtyard when the alarm bells began ringing. Guards poured from the castle. Douglas's voice echoed across the stones, commanding them to stop. But they ran anyway, made it to the tree line before the arrows started flying. Patricia took one in the shoulder, but kept moving. Michelle's cheek was grazed. Kari heard hoofbeats behind them. They'd sent mounted guards. They'd be caught within minutes. Then a howl split the morning air. Not a wolf's howl. Something deeper, more terrible. The sound of a beast driven by desperate love and fury. Troy exploded from the northern forest astride a massive black horse, Constance and the others behind him. His eyes were gold, fully beast, but he was still in human form, holding it back through sheer will. He'd felt Kari's pain through the bond, had left the fortress, breaking 300 years of self-imposed isolation to come after her. "Get them on horses!" Troy roared. His voice was barely human. "Now!" Janice and Molly pulled Michelle and Patricia onto mounts. Robbie reached for Kari, but Troy was there first, hauling her onto his horse in front of him. "I've got you," he growled against her ear. "Hold on." They rode. Douglas's guards pursued for 3 miles before Troy wheeled his horse around. The beast was fully present now, violence radiating from him in waves. "Return to your king!" he snarled. An alpha command rolled through his voice like thunder. "Tell him if he pursues us, I will come back and burn his castle to ash with him inside it." The guards fled. They rode for 2 more days, stopping only to rest the horses. Kari drifted in and out of consciousness, the binding scar still burning. Through the bond, she felt Troy's anguish, his barely controlled rage. On the second night, when they finally stopped to make camp, Troy carried Kari away from the others, held her while she shook, pressing cold hands to her burning face. "I felt it," he said hoarsely. "Through the bond. I felt the pain, what you endured." "We escaped," Kari whispered. "That's what matters." "No." His arms tightened. "Oh, what matters is that you're alive, that I got there in time." He pulled back to look at her. "Constance told me what Sharon planned, what she wanted you to do." "I would never." "I know." He pressed his forehead to hers. "I know you wouldn't. But Kari, you left the fortress for me, endured that pain for me. How much more do I have to watch you suffer before I—" He stopped, breathing hard. "Before you what?" "Before I give you what you need." Troy's voice was raw. "Oh, the ritual requires my willing submission. You've needed it from the beginning, but I've been too proud, too afraid to give it." "Troy, no. Let me finish." He cupped her face, careful of the fresh burns. "I've spent 300 years refusing to bow. Refused kings, refused armies, refused fate itself. And what did it earn me? Isolation, suffering, 3 centuries of darkness." His gold eyes held hers. "But then you walked into my life, spoke my name, saw past the monster. And for the first time in 300 years, I wanted to be someone worth loving." Tears streamed down Kari's face, stinging the burns. "So I'm done fighting," Troy said quietly. "Done letting pride rule me. You want my submission? You have it. All of me. No reservations. No conditions." He lifted her scarred hand to his lips. "I submit to you, Kari. Not because the ritual requires it, because I love you. And because you're the only person in 300 years who looked at me and saw someone worth saving." The bond blazed between them, warm and sure and absolutely right. "We need to get back to the fortress," Kari said through her tears. "Perform the ritual properly. Speak your 3 names." 2 days hard ride, Constance said, emerging from the shadows. She held Sharon's journal, the original. "And I found something, in your mother's notes." She opened it to a page marked with ribbon. She lied about this ritual. The power transfer, it was never the real purpose. That was a corruption she added later, probably when Douglas started paying her. "What was the real purpose?" Troy asked. "Breaking the curse completely, freeing you, restoring the humanity the 7 kings stole." Constance's finger traced the original text. The three names spoken, the blood given freely, the willing submission. It's about choice, proving you can choose love over pride. Choose connection over isolation. Choose humanity over the beast. So if we do it right, Carrie started, the curse breaks, the power dissipates, Troy becomes fully human again. Constance smiled. No transfer, no death, just freedom. They reached the fortress 2 days later, just as the sun set on the final full moon. Troy's transformation was already beginning. The curse marks spreading, his eyes shifting to full gold, but this time he didn't fight it. In the great hall, with all 6 sisters present, Kari stood before him. In her hands, she held a blade, ceremonial, ancient, borrowed from Troy's armory. The blood first, Constance instructed. Each sister must give freely. One by one, the sisters approached. Michelle first, her hand steady as she cut her palm and let blood drip into the waiting bowl. Then Patricia, Molly, Janice, Constance herself. Finally, Robbie, who met Carrie's eyes as she added her blood. "I'm sorry," Robbie said quietly. For doubting you." "You kept us cautious," Carrie answered. "We needed that." With the blood gathered, Troy knelt before Kari. The curse marks covered him completely now, writhing across his skin. His eyes were more beast than man, but he was still there, still fighting to hold on. "Speak the names," he growled, "before I lose myself completely." Kari touched his face. One last binding to break, 3 names to speak, 50 scars remaining. The pain would be immense, but she'd endured worse. "Troy Pearson," she said. His birth name, the man he'd been before the curse, the first binding scar activated, the one on her throat. Fire raced down her neck. She gasped but continued. "Feral King." His cursed name, the beast he'd become. The second binding activated, the one across her chest. She nearly collapsed, but Troy's hands caught her, steadied her. "Keep going," he gritted out. "Finish it." Carrie drew a shaking breath. The third name, the one buried deepest, and the one that held the key to everything. She'd learned it from her dreams, from the soul mark, from the bond that tied her soul to his. Isaacson. His true name, his whole name, the one his mother had whispered when he was born, the name that held his entire identity, past, present, and future. The final binding exploded, pain beyond description. Every scar on Carrie's body activated simultaneously, burning away the magic that had held her power captive for 5 years. But through the agony, she felt it, her gift breaking free, unbound, complete. She was a name weaver, fully realized. And she had one more thing to do. Carrie took the ceremonial blade and dipped it in the sisters' mixed blood. Then she traced a pattern on Troy's chest, the same pattern her mother had used to cast the curse. But this time, she wove it differently, rewrote it, changed its purpose from binding to freedom. "Troy Pearson, Feral King, Isaacson," she said, her voice resonating with power. "And I weave your names together, not to bind, not to break, but to make whole." She pressed her hand over his heart. "I unbind the curse. I sever the chains. I give you back your choice." The curse marks began to fade. Troy gasped, his eyes shifting from gold to gray to human blue. Color flooded his skin. Warmth replaced the unnatural cold. "I choose," he said, his voice his own again. "I choose you. I choose love. I choose humanity." The last of the curse marks vanished. Troy Pearson, for the first time in 300 years, was free. He pulled Kari into his arms, and they collapsed together, laughing and crying and holding each other like they'd never let go. The sisters cheered. Constance was crying. Even Robbie was smiling. 6 months later. The Northern Territories had changed. With the curse broken, Troy had reclaimed his position, not as a conquering alpha, but as a unifying force. The 7 kings had been exposed, and their conspiracy documented and distributed throughout the realm. Douglas and Kathleen had been arrested, tried, and imprisoned in the same black cells where Sharon had been kept. Sharon herself had vanished the night of the ritual. Some said she fled south. Others claimed she'd been consumed by her own corrupted magic. Troy and Carrie didn't particularly care. They had more important things to focus on, like the small bundle Carrie held in her arms. "She has your eyes," Troy said, gazing down at their daughter. "Both of them. No cloudiness. No blindness. And your stubbornness," Carrie said with a smile. The baby had been fussing for an hour, refusing to sleep. "She wants what she wants when she wants it. A true alpha." Troy's finger traced his daughter's tiny hand. "What should we name her?" Carrie had thought about this for months, thought about her mother who'd betrayed them, thought about the sisters who'd stood by them, thought about the journey that brought them here. "Sharon," she said finally. Troy's eyebrows rose. After the woman my mother should have been. The woman in her notes who loved her daughter enough to leave her a way out." Carrie looked up at him. "She gave me the tools to find you, even if she corrupted the purpose later. Without her journal, we never would have succeeded." "Sharon Isaacson," Troy said, testing the name. I like it." The baby chose that moment to open her eyes, human blue, clear and bright, and yawn. Then, impossibly, she spoke her first word. Not mama or papa. "Name," baby Sharon said clearly. Then she smiled and closed her eyes, finally sleeping. Carrie and Troy stared at each other. "Did she just—" Troy started. "Say her first word at 6 months old?" Carrie finished. Yes, she did." "A name weaver's daughter," Troy said with wonder. Words come early." "That's what I'm afraid of." But Carrie was smiling. She looked around at the life they'd built. The fortress transformed from a prison into a home, the territories beginning to heal, the future opening before them like a promise. 300 years of darkness, broken by love and choice, and the willingness to submit not to kings, but to each other. The cursed Alpha had answered to no king, until a hooded Omega whispered his name and set them both free. Dear viewers, if this story taught us anything, it's that the cages we build to protect ourselves often become the prisons that destroy us. Troy spent 300 years refusing to submit, refusing to be vulnerable, and it nearly cost him everything. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone see you completely, even the broken parts, especially the broken parts.